Make everybody sit down for a minute. Okay, we'll call a meeting to order. It's Tuesday, January 8, 2019. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One another one.
Minutes are reports received and filed.
December 2019 Treasurer's Reconciliation Report filed and December 2019 Auditor's Report filed. And the fees for December 2019 is Recorder, Clerk, and Sheriff fees filed.
Okay. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings and events.
We got our admin meeting with the department heads, directors today. We're going to do a public works site visit. Jeff City Glass Recycling is looking for another spot for a glass bunker, so if y'all want to come out there and see what they're looking at, we're going to try to go by their existing one over by the bus depot before we go out there. HBA board meeting this afternoon, Planning Commission meeting tonight, Solid Waste Management District board meeting tomorrow, Home Builders Association meeting Wednesday night. Cole County Chiefs Association holiday dinners Friday night. I think we're going to try to make it out there 6 to 9, right, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, then we got our Renegades Coffee Friday, Chamber of Commerce Fridays is Friday as well too. And
KWAS.
radio. Ooh, I did go over top of that. Yep, radio Friday morning. Quarterly reports are due next Tuesday.
That it?
All right, I think so.
I got a meeting at the Capitol this afternoon at 3 with Strategic, and then I got a Sleep Board meeting tomorrow at 11:30 at the CVB, and then do we have KWAS on Friday?
Yeah, we do. I talked to John.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, he didn't know who's whoever wants to do
Okay.
it.
I can probably do it.
Okay.
It'll be a good time after that port meeting this morning.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
Give a brief update on that. I mean,
Sure.
there's not a whole lot changed, but a few things going on.
And then I have a meeting on Friday on the Cole County Data Room proposal with Architects Alliance. So
Okay. Legislative Gala tomorrow night. Thursday is Traffic and Safety Advisory Board. Monday I'm speaking to the Rotary Club. Tuesday before our regular meeting I've got Cap Region Credentials Committee. And that is it. Okay. Appointments by commission. Reappointment of Mike Rehagen, Charles Scornia, and Heather Conway to the Cole County Residential Special Services Board. They have all asked to continue to serve, so we just need to reappoint them and sign.
motion to do that?
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and do it, Sam, since
Okay, I make.
it's right in front of you.
We reappoint Mike Rehagen, Charles Scornia, and Heather Conway to the Cole County Special Services Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Sign those. Commission comments, bids and contracts, billing RFP.
I'll let Matt do most of the talking, but I wanted to talk about the bid tab a little bit. It basically outlines the offers we received and sort of the progression of the vendors that were under consideration. You can see ultimately the recommendation will be for Digitech. And if you have any questions or if Matt has anything he wants to say, we can go over that.
So one of the things that we did was we looked at the billing costs that we were paying out, and we were at roughly 6.79, I believe was the number at our current billing. We felt that that was too high. So in the process, the lowest we got was a 3.0. That is not the one we were recommending due to the fact that in the last week we went around and did their references. One of the questions we asked was for all the finalists to provide a list of their top 5 or largest 5 contracts they had lost in the past 2 years. They provided those. We reached out to those companies or departments, and the company that provided the 3.0, none of the companies recommended them and had negative interactions or experiences with that company. We reached out to the other one, and all had said that it was either because of pricing or that it was a mistake that they had left and at some point would like to go back. So our recommendation is to go with the Digitech. It is a 3.45, so that's more than half of our current billing costs. So we've calculated out at 3.3 million. That roughly gives us 112,000 in savings a year, and averaged out over the 5-year length of the contract is $560,000 in savings right off the bat. One of the things that they also did provide in that is what's called a pass-through for the EPCR. Our current EPCR is going to end up costing us approximately $27,000. We currently have a quote that Digitech would provide a pass-through, and it was part of the RFP process. That will cost us approximately $18,000 a reoccurring fee. I'm sorry, $19,000 on reoccurring fee. So that's a savings of about $8,000 each year if we make that move in the EPCR through the pass-through. The final thing that was in the RFP that allows is a pass-through for the computers and MDTs that do report writing and our AVL and dispatch interface through a refresh. What that does is that allows us to either go directly through a percentage, and so the percentage that was calculated was a rise of 1.2%. In order to recoup the cost at no additional fee, so you would not be financing, you would just be spreading that cost out. Once the money was realized back to Digitech, so the total amount, they would then reduce the percentage rate back down to the 3.45. So there'd be no additional cost. All it does is spread that amount out. The company that we had been working with was a local company, Turnkey Mobile. That is able to provide through a state contract also that cost. And so the total cost on that to do that refresh over the time is $157,725. That will get 38 computers, and each ambulance has to have 2, one in the front, one in the back. The ones that were purchased 2 years ago, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, are not performing well. They're failing consistently, and we have consistent problems with them, which impacts our billing capabilities, because if in the process of writing a report it fails, we lose that data collection and the patient signatures, which then can either impact or completely deny the process of getting paid for those. We also have connectivity issues in the front from the older models that they're using in the front of the ambulance. So we'd like to go ahead and ask that that pass-through be done with Turnkey through Digitech, which will then take that out over the 5 years with no additional cost, no financing charges or anything like that.
I don't have any questions. I talked to Matt earlier, talked to him yesterday. He answered all my questions.
So it was 38 computers, and the cost was 100 and what?
So it's 157,725. That includes, I'm sorry, 38 or 36 computers, not 38. My bad. So that includes computers, the keyboard that goes with the computers, and these are Panasonic Toughbooks, so they're designed for public safety. Docking stations for the ambulances, for the ones in the front. The hardware or the wiring that goes with it, protective voltage things for the computers themselves, and it also has looks like a, let me ask,
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it has a 4th and 5th year warranties that are included in there, so they come with 3 and it adds in. And so that's $592 for those extra 2 years of warranty. So this bid from the last one that we received through another vendor was about $20,000 cheaper. By the local company, it was cheaper by about $20,000.
So, obviously, 14 ambulances will soon be up, so are you gonna have 2 units in each of those ambulances? I guess I don't know where you're coming up with the 36.
So it comes up to, you have to have 2 per ambulance, so that's 14. And, I'm sorry, you have to have 11 for double. Each other ambulance has to have 1 reporting system in it. And then the command vehicles, because we would write non-transports to keep that primary unit in service. So if we get there, they don't need care or transport, we would write the report. Otherwise, we still have to have that unit dedicated to that call. So this is a way to reduce the workload on the employees and keep ambulances in service if we get there or are able to provide that report writing capability for them. So and then you have 2 spares in that as well, is what that's designed to do, because when one goes down, we have to send it off to get it repaired, and then we won't have enough, so we'd like to have 2 in reserve. The other thing is the computers that we currently have, we would then reallocate those out to Brian so that he could then distribute them throughout the county as needed. So they work, they just don't work well for us because of the amount of abuse that our computers take.
We've had 6 failures in a year and a half.
So obviously, we got 2 new ambulances coming on, and that'll take our total to 14, is that right?
That's correct.
But 2 are going back in reserve, which wouldn't need computers in them?
You would want the MDTs in the front in them because of the way it's allocated in the CAD system. The report writing is what you would not need.
Okay. So the report writing, they'd take that with them to whatever ambulance they were in, right?
Correct, sir.
Still seems like a couple extra to me, but, besides your spares. So it did have a 5-year warranty, and that's, I mean, what's the warranty cover?
If you don't mind, I guess. Sure.
It's called a bumper-to-bumper warranty. It covers accidental breakage.
Okay, so if I drop it and it breaks, okay.
We also keep local spares on hand in Jefferson City for that need. We understand mission critical and Panasonic's national repair centers in Kansas City.
Okay.
And so to help you with the number allocated, so 11 times 2 would be the 22, then 4 times 2 is the 8, that takes you to 30. Then you would have 3 on the backup trucks, which would take you to 33, and then you would have the 3 spares remaining.
So in your command staff, you have 2 in your command staff vehicles too?
Yes, sir. So you have 1 for the CAD system that you have to interface with dispatch to get your directions to the call, things like that, and then the report writing. So that would leave you 3. The 3 would also be used for standbys. So anytime we would put a standby up, you have to have the capability of writing a report. So that's where those 3 can also come into play. They just wouldn't be sitting on the shelves all the time.
Okay.
Are we buying them outright, or are we leasing them over the 5 years?
So
I
it
got
would,
confused.
so it would be outright. It's just a payment over the 5 years through a percentage through the billing company. And once you realize the cost of $157,000, then the percentage drops back down. The other option that we can do is just not go through that billing side and go direct with the local company because they are on contract bid. It just is a capital purchase all at once versus out over the 5 years. The cost is the same regardless of how you do it.
I guess I would defer to Kristen and
We probably would prefer the outright purchase and not the payments over the 5 years. Because on our end, it's still considered a capital lease, just because of the total cost, it would have to be reported as a capital lease for us.
And you'd probably give us more of a discount, right?
Here for you. I agree to some extent, but I think one thing that we lose sight of is that we don't replace these on an ongoing basis. So obviously we got 36, we're not replacing 12 a year, or we're not replacing 8 a year over 5 years or whatever. So when we replace 36 of them, now they're all gonna come due to be replaced in 5 years. So, I mean, so to say that we're gonna lease them, we've already kind of factored that in, that instead of paying for all 36 at once, now we're paying for, say, a fifth of them every year. And so in 5 years.
But it doesn't matter, at the end of 5 years, you're still out of the warranty, so you're
Right,
either
and
again talking about another 5-year
Right.
lease or an outright purchase in 5 years.
Right. But my point is that if you paid a fifth this year and a fifth the next year and a fifth every year, you're kind of in the same boat.
Well, what if we get to year 3 and this billing company is really failing for us? And we want to go back out to bid, and then what do we do?
So so you would pay that off at that point. That is one of the terms in that contract, is you would pay that off.
And that's why it's considered a capital lease, because you're essentially leasing the equipment until it's fully paid.
I'm okay with leasing it, so, I mean, I don't care what you call it a duck or football, I'm okay with this plan, rather than have to foot the bill for the $150,000 right off start, so.
What's the total savings in 1 year with your billing estimated to be?
112,000. And that's at the current recovery rate. So if that recovery rate went up, then we would obviously save. So we're saving over 50% in billing costs per year.
So really, in the first year, you're estimating to almost save the cost of your new equipment.
Nearly correct.
And considering we pay capital out of EMS capital part versus the enterprise fund, so to whatever, so that would come out of, because it'd be on to the fees.
So you're kind of transferring where that purchase is coming from, because his fees are running through his enterprise fund. So if you're paying them a higher percentage through his enterprise fund, you're essentially purchasing out of the enterprise fund versus out of the capital.
Yeah, I'm like Jeff, it's, whatever works best, it's
Did you touch on some of the training and stuff that we would get through Digitech?
So one of the things
savings?
Digitech did is they offered $15,000 in the PWW training, which was one of the questions we came back and asked. And so that money that we initially had budgeted for the legal training for documentation, they're going to provide up to $15,000. So we should not have to pay more than $2,000 to receive that training, which is another savings for the department.
And so with that training, it'll help with our recovery.
So it should increase our recovery rates because of the documentation standards. It should also help reduce our liability rates because of proper documentation. So, unfortunately, when the lawyers get a hold of it, there are certain things that they'll immediately look at, and one of it is proper documentation. And the same thing goes with insurance recovery, is if it's not written, it didn't happen, and you do not get that billing. So if you don't put that you gave 3 medicines, put them on a cardiac monitor, et cetera, they downgrade that call to an ALS call or to a BLS call if they did provide that care. And so that has a financial impact on what they're legally able to bill. And so what our plan is to have them come in, teach them the right way to document, and what we don't want them to do by any means is lie, but to make sure that they adequately show what they did on the call, and by that should help increase our billing. We do have calls that are downgraded. Unfortunately, that should not be, but based on documentation, they get downgraded in that process.
So what do you think, Sam? Do the lease or outright?
I don't think it really matters. I mean, the lease, I'm like Jeff, the lease is fine.
I guess the main question though is where we want it to come from. If you want it coming from the enterprise fund, we don't want to do it this way. If we want it to come out of capital, we need to buy it outright. So that's probably more of a question than the leasing. If you, I mean, there's stuff that I'm sure we get out of the enterprise fund that could be taken out of capital. So it does happen. I mean, at some point.
If I had to give you my recommendation, it would be to take it straight from capital. It just makes it a cleaner process, and with the 1.2%, that would just require us to try to calculate that on a yearly basis to make sure that there was no overrun in that cost recovery process. But on the flip side, it does allow us to spread that out over the 5 years. So it's kind of whichever one you'd like to do.
Did we have this in your capital for budget this year?
No, sir. That's why we were looking at the spreading it
So
out.
that's where the getting creative comes in, is we
Right.
do it through the enterprise.
Correct.
And through this way, then we can get these now, replace the junk that we thought was the prime stuff 2 years ago when we bought it.
To play devil's advocate, if you're saving that much money on his fees, you could reduce the transfer that's coming from capital to begin with. I mean, you could do half in June and then estimate at the end of the year that they don't need the full amount that was budgeted because of the savings in the enterprise fund. So you could juggle it either way.
But I'm okay either way, so it's just,
So if he saves his expense and fees, he could use that savings to pay for these computers?
Because you could reduce that transfer that you currently have. Because he will not need that transfer to be as large because of the savings that he's seeing in the enterprise fund.
I mean, I'd be okay with outright purchase as long as, you know, the savings that he gains goes back to his capital. Did I say that right, or?
Right, so.
I mean, so if he saves more than this, I mean, obviously he needs to pay for the computers, but if he saves that, he gets to recoup that back into his capital. Is that a fair statement, or
Less of a transfer, yeah.
you good with that, sir?
Yes, sir.
yeah.
You guys good with that?
So one more thing is with the change in the billing company and the pass-through, we would like to issue the 60-day notice that we're going to terminate the contract with the current EPCR, the patient care report provider, so that we can go with the pass-through through Digitech to get the new patient care report provider. We have a deadline because it's going to renew sometime in March, and so we'd like to avoid that renewal.
Okay, so what are we doing first here? Are we awarding a contract, or are we?
It's all tied together, so.
Oh. You wanna write that out for me?
I was just gonna ask you, what did we just decide we're doing? Because you said you're fine with doing it, and I didn't understand exactly. Oh, we're gonna buy them outright
Gonna buy them outright, but
through capital.
Right, but then
Then we're gonna
the savings that he incurs in his fees will transfer it back into capital to offset the cost.
You want
The
that
1/5
done in the
amount?
budget?
No. That was just one.
That's
This is
exactly
all,
where I
this
was
is
going,
all
so now we
active
got-
tomorrow.
Okay, so we're gonna purchase it outright.
Yeah,
So we're basically gonna take 157,000 out of his capital for the 2019 budget. You already spent 157,000, right?
I would envision just doing the transfer out of contingency, unless our transfer back to the operations, because he's already got what's earmarked in there for other things, into capital.
Right, and so the idea, I think, is what,
Okay, I mean, we're saying the same thing. So the money that he saves would just go back into contingency or as, just as revenue coming in and then.
Okay, say we go ahead and buy it out of capital. Then we start realizing the savings or increased revenue on it, however you want to look at it. Then at the end of the year, we transfer it to wherever, to capital or to contingency.
Twice a year, we transfer into that fund to subsidize that fund, so we would not transfer as much by the cost of the.
So January 1st, we're already dipping into contingency, is this what I'm looking at?
But we're also knowing that we're not gonna transfer over to subsidize as much.
But you haven't spent any money yet either, so, not yet.
January 9th.
Well, yeah, 13th, next
All
accounts
right.
payable.
I mean, either way,
So-
I was fine with getting them going with this if we did it a fifth at a time. And once we start to realize the savings or increased revenue, then we could, that would help offset it. But if this is gonna be cleaner and easier, I don't have any heartache how we do it. We need to get it done because those things are junk, and it's actually gonna help us hopefully increase revenue just because we have the reports are done right and the information is there.
And I'm okay, I want to terminate
So-
this contract.
So, number one, we're gonna terminate the contract.
Yes.
issue a 60-day termination letter to Image Trend EPCR.
Okay.
Hang on just a second. And then purchase the computers through turnkey.
Yes, sir.
Their cooperative procurement,
And then,
make the billing services award at Digitech.
Yes, Debbie?
that's it. I just want to get that.
So, can we do that all in one motion, or do
Yeah,
we need to do
that's
it
what I was,
separate?
that's what I was trying to get to here. I can't remember all that.
Read back what he just said.
So, we're gonna award, the billing RFP to Digitech. We're gonna issue a 60-day termination letter to Image Trend.
Yes, sir.
And then we're gonna award a cooperative purchasing agreement to Turnkey for the computers.
Yes.
Right?
Right, good?
Yes.
All right. Is that your motion, sir?
I'm gonna make it here. I move that we award the billing RFP to Digitech, issue a 60-day termination letter to Image Trend, and make the cooperative purchase with Turnkey for the 36 computers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
You're out of
Thank you,
money,
gentlemen.
Matt.
Okay, do we have any unfinished business? We're gonna have the public hearing adopting a budget, but I think I'm gonna move Judy up 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
I know we addressed the employee salaries before, and you know that my mission is to get the database cleaned up and the 10-year indexing caught up for a lot of reasons, which we talked about. But when I was looking at the MOU agreement, which is generally it's a part-time position, I wanted to change that into a full-time position. Recorder's Fund can afford the salary for the full-time position, but it wouldn't be able to afford the benefits. And the other thing that we pay is $1,400 a year for a storage unit where we store all the Aperture cards. We're required to do that until they're all digitized. So in having the full-time position, be able to get enough of it caught up that we could get rid of that storage unit, which would save the $1,400 a year. But the catch is that the Recorder's Fund can't afford to pay a full-time position benefits. So I didn't know if we could have the county pay the benefits while the Recorder's Fund would pay the salary.
Where is our storage unit? How big is it? Because
It's at
I think-
Capitol View Storage.
can we not store those out at the new or at the new health
ESV.
department? Or out at EMS on Southridge? I mean.
Yeah, we could check into that. I don't know.
I don't understand why.
It had to meet certain specifications when you store them for the temperature control. And they have been out there for a long time. And I don't know, they used to be over in the assessor's building, but then there was some issues with damage. So they had to be moved to temperature controlled, and that's where they were moved to. So, and every year that storage unit fee goes up. So maybe we could put them out there, I don't know, I could go look at
Yeah.
that area.
Maybe humidity control too, Judy.
Correct, yeah, that was an issue too, you're right, there was.
We have all that in the coolers at ESB. I mean, their temperature and humidity, I mean, they're a cooler, so insulated and everything else, so.
Okay, well, I can go look at that, I mean, we can move those, that's fine.
So
That would
you're
save
saying-
that would save that charge.
So you're saying you'd pay from the difference between a part-time and a full-time, but you don't have enough money to pay the benefits. So what was the cost of that?
It would be just roughly, it'd be anywhere from 14 to 15,000, depending on what she paid, because a lot of that would be based on benefits. But, you know,
14 to 15,000 for benefits?
8,000 a
You're
month.
almost 8,000 for insurance by itself.
Yeah. And then you got loggers, surf, and social security. And that's all based on a percent.
I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah. Adds up quick.
Just the only one we have that we're talking about today as far as salaries before we pass the final budget.
Yeah.
You had the email from clerk.
Right. And the email from the collector.
And the collector.
So can we go back a few years and talk about MOUs, and didn't we try to get away from these MOUs, and we still have one with the PA, and
We've got them for full positions or partial positions, but we don't have them for subsidizing a position. Or for giving them raises or for,
Right, we did away with all the supplement. And
Supplement,
only did
yeah.
if they were doing funding a part-time or a full-time position.
And usually all the benefits have been associated with it. This is just maybe a different look at separating benefits from the person, but all the MOUs did consider the benefits, if that makes sense.
Did include the benefits.
Yes,
cost
did it.
of benefits.
Yeah. And still do for the ones I'm giving you. It's more of a creative way of maybe doing it versus, I wouldn't want to go back to subsidizing or stipend type thing. I'm not sure if the prosecutor would maybe want that same thing and the sheriff wouldn't too, because they're both paying benefits. But John's not listening, so it's.
Paying no attention, as far as you know. But when this is over with, I have a motion to make.
sorry, I won't call on you. Make sure you don't call on him, Sam.
No, who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Call the
Sure.
I
mar-
can look right over his
Call the
head.
marshal.
You can call on the sheriff right now.
Yeah, call the marshal and have him removed.
It's your mail, so good.
Thank you.
Um, I can respect what you're trying to do, but I'm ready to leave things as they are for now and just to move forward and adopt the budget as is.
I think so, I know what you're trying to do, Judy. And we've had, the sheriff 3 years ago came back in mid-year and asked for, and we did some stuff then, so, right
I would
now,
pay the benefits out of the recorder's fund if it could afford it, and right now, when you look at it, I know there's about $180,000 and it looks like it could, but when you start calculating, you know, the things that need to get taken care of and paying for an employee and benefits, I think you probably wouldn't be able to afford to keep going like that. It would run out of money. I mean, it might be able to afford it for 2 years, which would get a good start on getting some of this indexing caught up, but I don't think I don't know the long term how long this is gonna take. My guess is gonna be it's gonna take at least 4 to 5 years to get everything caught up. If we have the extra person, maybe sooner, which is what I'm trying to do.
I would rather wait and have you come back. I mean, you've been here a week, so, and I don't mean to belittle that, but, you know, we can always readdress it in the future. But,
In the future, 6 months?
we did that with the sheriff, so, yeah. I got some good medicine.
Gee, what if you started out with somebody that was part-time? I mean, just at least be getting some of it done so that it's not hitting the recorder's fund too hard. And then we can revisit it again and see.
And that's what the current MOU is for.
Correct.
Yeah, and we
So-
might, by then we might be able to make that person full-time.
Okay.
I mean, I know you're real familiar with the office, so it's hard for me
Yeah.
to sit here and go, well, let's wait till you adjust and figure everything out.
I'm familiar
I
with the
didn't mean
office,
it.
but I'm learning the budget part.
I didn't mean it, yeah.
So if, I'd like to stick with the way we're doing it for right now, rather than adding to it or subsidizing it for more hours. So,
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Judy.
thank you, Judy.
Okay. Public hearing for 2019 budget. We were handed this today by our auditor. Our 2019 total county budget is $86,926,897. We'll open
Open public hearing?
public hearings. Is there anybody who would like to speak on our 2019 budget?
Seeing none, I'd move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adopt the final budget for 2019.
They need to do the MOUs
Yeah,
first.
before you adopt it, the 3 MOUs that we talked about with the sheriff, the prosecutor, and the recorder, they've been signed by those 3 departments. I'll make approval of those before you adopt the budget.
I move that we sign the MOU with the sheriff, the recorder, and the prosecuting attorney.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is the court order and a letter on the budget for 2019.
We need to read this.
Don't have to. I'm gonna send a copy of that out to all the department heads. I think Sam read it last year. It's up to you.
Oh.
Well, he's lost his voice. So
Yeah,
I'll go ahead and read it for him here. So,
okay, thank you.
do I need to make this into a motion then, or?
to adopt the budget and a court order attached.
Well, we had a couple other things in there that we had to request for, so do we want to address those before we adopt it? Or are we just saying no to them? Because we had a request from the collector and a request from the clerk. So I think it's probably fair to address them now, or you want to address them after the budget's adopted? The clerk's was that we changed the date for the steps to January 31st, which we discussed previously, and I don't remember exactly how it was left. It kind of did ring familiar as we said January 31st at one point. Then we discussed it again last week, and then it was January 13th. So it changed. It affected one of the staff in his office, so he had emailed a request that we go back to January 31st. And then we had another one for supplemental income MOU for employees. So we can either address both and now or do it after, however you want to do it. I'm still with December 31st as my date, so it I'm not going to change any vote on that. And then as far as the supplemental income, we have, as far as policy almost now, not done any kind of supplemental MOUs. We've done part-time or full-time positions, but not the supplemental pay. I mean, if you're going to do that with supplemental pay, then take that schedule and just throw it away right now. We don't even need it. We'll put it with the Archer file.
I mean, we knew this was gonna be an issue with whatever date we picked. You were December 31st, I was January 1st. We said the first pay period for the end of the year fell to January 13th, and that's the only reason that I extended it to that date was that was the pay period for the first part of the year, or
And that's,
Right.
and I was good with that too.
right.
So
So,
I think,
I mean, it was an arbitrary date. I mean, you move it to the 31st, and next thing, somebody's gonna miss out because they were hired February 1st. And so, I mean, there's all different hire dates, and at some point, you gotta draw a line in the sand, and I'm good with leaving it at the 13th.
yeah, I'm too.
And then I mean, I read through the other request, and I mean, I don't fault anybody for fighting for their employees for more money. I mean, I think everybody in the county deserves more money, and I wish we could pay them a lot more money, but the bucket's only so big. And so, I mean, like I said earlier, I'm good with passing the budget exactly the way it's at and not making any changes.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am right now, so.
Okay? So I'm gonna read this.
I'm just trying to think of some change just to
Are
mess
ya?
with you all. No.
Well, you're gonna mess with me, you're gonna mess with Kristen.
Getting a lot of enjoyment out of that lately.
Yeah.
I didn't say I enjoy it. Well, yeah. No, it's nothing personal.
Didn't say you enjoyed it, you just think
I
of it.
do. I like to argue. Go ahead. Let's get this adopted. Before
So,
John says
elected
anything.
officials and department heads, the commission has finalized the 2019 budget. This is the financial plan for Cole County for 2019. All projections for both revenue and expenses were made using generally accepted forecasting methods. At best, growth will be modest with no increase in sales tax revenue and the special revenue funds. The general revenue fund, which relies on sources of revenue other than sales tax, will be more stable. The final revenue and expense numbers for 2018 show a change in both revenue and expenses, which impacts our budget decisions for 2019. The budget for 2019 reflects a sound operating plan for the County of Cole and sound financial planning for our future. The Commission continues to believe that a fair and competitive compensation benefit plan is critical to retaining the employees of Cole County. The County Commission also considers it important to continue covering the entire health insurance premiums and they are continuing to fund the 4% contribution for the county retirement program for the 2019 year. The commission will also be approving a flat $520 COLA and some salary adjustments, excluding the sheriff and EMS departments, which had received their increase in 2018 year. In 2019, the commission would like to ask each department to be conservative with your spending and to look for potential ways to increase fees and find other revenue sources in order to help increase salaries in the future years. Cole County government must be conscious in preserving our good financial standing while also providing the necessary services to our residents. This budget achieves both goals for 2019 and ensures that we can continue with these goals for the future. In close, please find a copy of your budget for year 2019. Thanks for your cooperation. I move that we sign a court order that approves the budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Everybody get ready, start paying your bills. First we'll turn it back on and.
Wait for the email today that the budget has been rolled in, and then you can start entering bills for the current year.
And they're due Friday, and we'll pay next week, so, thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay, accounts payable review.
We're gonna skip that today.
Okay. Discussion of the non-smoking ordinance. This, we had received an email sent to the mayor, sent to us by a citizen on smokers outside of our building. So I think we looked at the ordinance and it,
I sent you all an
yeah,
email
it,
telling you what the thinking was back when we initially enacted this.
Do we need to be up here? Can everybody hear or whatever, what we got going on? We got some stuff going back there too, so.
Okay.
Sheriff, would you sit down and shut up or leave?
Wow. So obviously Jill sent us an email on that, 10 foot from an exterior wall. I think the only thing that, I don't really want to post it. I don't want to post signs. There's no enforcement mechanism.
We could make it, I mean, it's an infraction, so you can charge up to $400 for a fine.
I think when our marshal or our sheriff asks somebody to move and take their smoking away from public entrance, I think that will do what needs to be done. I don't think there needs to be an enforcement mechanism. I'm not crazy about a smoking ordinance in general. Obviously, you know, the city has passed that, but I don't want to put signs all over all county properties saying you can't smoke within 10 feet of a door or whatever. So if we need to designate some smoking areas, I mean, I'm okay with that, but I mean, I don't know if we want to do that or not.
I think we really do, kind of, for our employee. Our problem is we have people from the library who are around our property. We have people coming out of the courthouse, whether they're on jury duty or whatever, who are smoking too. So I kind of questioned whether it was really our employees or whether it was people who were doing business with the county that day. And
I can verify out front here, when people come in, I stood out there several
oh yeah,
times. They'll put it out right before they walk in the door. That's
Yeah.
way more intense. But we have an ashtray right here by the door.
But they weren't smoking, they were just putting it out.
They were-
oh, some of
They could
them,
before they got to
yeah,
it.
some of them will stay out there.
One toke.
They will stay out there and smoke, you know, cost of cigarettes now. They'll finish that cigarette.
But it's right outside the door.
Yeah,
I
so,
said they might throw it on the ground if we didn't have an ashtray.
Well, I mean, then what constitutes smoking? Are you actually got it in your mouth? I mean, or is it just burning?
What if you don't inhale?
Yeah, yeah, what if you don't inhale? I mean, it.
Okay, Bill.
Well, I didn't get to argue with Kristen today, so I'm at a loss right now. I just say leave it alone. It's not been a problem. The city has an ordinance. If somebody wants to call and complain, we can call the police or we can call the marshals and ask somebody to move. And then if it becomes a problem, then we can deal with it. I just don't think it's been a problem. This has been one email that came. Let's talk about it. Let's get it back out there and just ask people to respect other people's air, I guess.
I'm good.
So
Yeah, then we had the smoking ordinance we adopted in 2011, so.
Yeah, I'm good with leaving it alone for now.
Okay. Do you want to say something?
Well, I just was saying, I didn't say that.
Okay, okay.
But I do want to say something, but I'll wait till whenever public comments are available. I didn't want to comment on your 2019 budget. Is now a good time?
Yes, yes.
You give me the floor? All right,
Yes.
I'm taking it.
5 minutes, 5 minutes.
Oh, it won't take me 5 minutes, I promise. Just wanted to, I know I've talked to all of you individually or members of the coalition have, about placing Proposition 1 on the April 2nd ballot. And since we're talking about budgets, ROI, and all kinds of things, basically, a couple of comments that I don't know were made yet, but the counties that have placed it, first of all, only 30 counties are eligible, and we happen to be one of those 30 counties. I don't know if you're aware of that or if everybody's aware of that. The counties that have placed it on the ballot and have approved it have seen an average of 50% reduction in high school dropouts, juvenile crime, and teen pregnancies. And this will, the return on investment for our county, we could, for every dollar that we spent on the at-risk youth or in this Children's Services Fund, we could save as much as $11 in future substance abuse, lost wages, criminal prosecution, imprisonment, health care, and other social welfare costs. So again, it would be up to us to educate the community. The community would vote, not you. I wouldn't want the responsibility of charging people for tax. I certainly don't want it. I don't expect any of the 3 commissioners to assume that responsibility either. All we're asking is that we put Proposition 1 on the ballot. We've got close to 1,000 signatures. We needed to have 3,000 by last Friday to the county clerk. We were unable to do that. But, you know, I mean, we could get more if that's what you demand or suggest that we continue to do. But you have the ability to go ahead and place it on the ballot and let the people decide. I mean, they selected you as representatives, but not as gatekeepers. We can still let them, the people, have a voice. Let them decide. If they don't want to pay, if they don't think the ROI is worth it, if they don't feel like this is a benefit to our community. But in my estimation, the things that have happened in the last month alone, 2 teenagers arrested for murder in our county, if that's not alarming to our community, I don't know what is. And those kind of things, we have the ability, there's resources in place, and there's a mechanism put in place in 1993 by our state legislature for us to do something to address the needs that aren't being met right now and fill those gaps. And, you know, I have a list of the counties. You've been provided with that. This data is not data that I'm pulling out of thin air. It's a benefit cost model by the Washington State Institute for Public Policy. It's not something that is not credible. And we have all the data to back it up. I'll send it to the letter to the editor if that's what we need to do to get the information out. Many of the civic organizations in town are willing to let us come speak and present the information so that they can have the facts, so that people can understand what this is all about. We're not asking you to say, yes, we're going to tax our citizens 1/4 cent sales tax. I understand. No publicly elected official wants to be responsible for that. Trust me, I wouldn't want that responsibility. All we're saying is, will you please let the people decide if they think this tax is worth it and place it on the ballot. And I know you have until January 22nd to make that decision. I know you meet every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. If you want me to pack the house, we can bring people in here. And I'm not even asking you to make the decision today. I'm asking you to consider these facts, consider these things, if we need more letters to the editor, and I guess my question to you is, what would it take for you to make the decision to place it on the ballot?
3,000 signatures a week ago.
Oh, okay.
I'm not trying to be mean, Joy.
I would feel more comfortable if the public was behind it, if you had the 3,000 signatures. Because I think that, that to me says that yes, they are behind it. So I'm talking to Ed Story. I said, you really need to go out and talk to the groups and present your story, because the people, nobody wants to pay more taxes.
I understand that.
So I think you need to explain to them, otherwise it could be on the ballot, but I think it'll probably,
It'll go down.
yeah, it'll go down. So it's education as much as anything. So I would rather you still get the 3,000 signatures and put it on the ballot that way. That's my opinion.
Okay, well, we can't do it through the county clerk, but if we got the 3,000 signatures by January 22nd, would you be willing to put it on the ballot?
So he wouldn't have time to certify all those then?
That's the challenge.
Right.
Too late at that point, because the deadline already passed. She's just arbitrarily saying if she does, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Would you do it then?
Would you consider it? Would you put it on the agenda to vote on January 22nd? How about that?
I said 3,000 votes a week ago, or whenever that date was. So I was hedging my vote.
By hoping that day would pass and we would go away, right?
So.
But there's still a lot of people in the community. I mean, granted, we knew about it 38 days ahead of time, and in those 38 days was Christmas and New Year's, okay? So that presented a lot of people with significant obstacles, travel, family, all kinds of things. I certainly went out and worked hard, but there are many people that have said, oh, yeah, I wanted to sign it. When's the deadline? I'm like, no, the deadline was last Friday. What don't you understand about this? But they didn't understand. They were not cognizant of that fact. And so that's why I'm here asking you now. Because I think that in the next 2 weeks, we could get the signatures that we need.
Well, there's more elections that are going to come up.
Not this year.
Well, I mean, I didn't mean just this year. I mean, there's more elections that are going to come up. So, and next year's an off year, but there's more elections that have come up. So you can do it by the petition. So it's not limited to just us deciding to put it on there. I'm not saying we can't put it on the agenda and vote on it.
Okay.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
that I'm
I think-
probably going to be a no on it. I honestly don't think it's our position to decide where that money would go, and that's what it's going to come down to. Are we indeed the gatekeepers of it at that point? A lot of the things that you mentioned, I mean, a lot of that comes from United Way funding and stuff.
It does.
So now you're going to tell the taxpayers, I have to take the money that I give United Way, I'm also going to be taxed by the county for it, so that may impact United Way and whatnot. So, I mean, I think the system, kind of the way it's set up right now, maybe there's just not enough money is the bottom
Well,
dollar.
and that's the thing is that everybody would be accountable. It wouldn't just be United Way and the big donors and the donors that donate to United Way. Everyone, people from outside our county that come into our county to shop would be supporting the help and benefit of our county. But people that come out from outside of our county come into our county and commit crimes. There's all kinds of different things that we can do. This is a revenue stream that we were designated as a county that deserves this funding. And it's up to you and it's up to the citizens. And then you wouldn't be held responsible. You would have a 9-member board that would be deciding, have to review the funds, just like United Way Board, have to review the funds and determine what applications are eligible, what applications would fill the gaps and fill the needs in the county. You know what? I see this as an opportunity, win-win for you. If the community decides that it's worth it and votes yes, great. If not, you've got nothing to lose. You've got
Until I
nothing to
put
lose.
another sales tax for road and bridge on there, and they're going, well, all the commissioners want to do is keep throwing taxes at us, and
Are you putting a sales tax for road and bridge on?
we're going to have a renewal coming up in a couple of years too. So
Well, we're talking about April of 2019.
people remember stuff.
I know.
Voters down there-
I know they do, Jeff. I know they do.
So,
I know they
understand
do.
what you're saying.
There's
There's a lot to it.
There is a lot to it, and it makes a lot of sense, and people need to be educated. But we can't go out there and educate if we're talking about April of 2020. I mean, people will forget by then.
Well, I think you do need to educate the people, so I think you're a little premature in that respect.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to get it on the ballot, and I think maybe you're putting the horse before the cart. I think you'd do better to have a grassroots support for it, and I think we would be more receptive to.
All right.
But
If we can demonstrate, let's just say we put it on the ballot, put it on the docket, on your agenda for April 22nd, for January 22nd, and we'll try and demonstrate that we have the grassroots support. Okay? How's that sound? Is that fair to you? And I'll go away today?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
That's fair. You can come up and
Yeah.
you can keep asking. And
I know.
we can-
I keep pestering you.
addressing it.
I'll be back next week, don't worry.
There's things that just,
I know.
it's hard to do sometimes.
I understand.
Put another tax on there, and it's, for the kids and stuff, and so now I'm not for the kids all of a sudden.
Right.
But, they had the Clean Missouri Pact passed, and now we can't even have the Taste of Jefferson City and welcome the legislators back to Jeff City. And it's just, there's just some negative things that come of these things.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I want to make sure that we understand everything. And I've been reaching out to the county commissioners, because in Clay County, the citizens weren't able to get the signatures, and the county commissioners did go ahead and put it on the ballot, and they passed it. So I get it, and I understand you're in a tough position, all three of you gentlemen. I do. I really do understand your position, and I just hope that you can understand mine.
So what, is there a way that board could be picked by someone else? Because I see that as a conflict for us. So you say we don't approve the money, but we approve the board members. So if you're a board member and you say you're a big advocate for Boys and Girls Club and you want to be on this committee, you're going to fight for your dollars from this organization. So,
It can't be.
I can already see how that's going to work and how that's going to happen. And so,
I completely understand, and they cannot be board members on any recipient board. So, like Council for Drug-Free Youth couldn't have a board member that is also on this board, the 9-member board that that would allocate the funds. So, or
Okay.
RACs or any other organization for that matter. None of our organizations. And, we've all talked to United Way. I just came from the United Way meeting. That's why I was running a few minutes late this morning. United Way is a huge donor and advocate, philanthropic in our organization. But so many of those people, all the money comes from them. If everybody was accountable and everybody voted for this, then we would all have some buy-in. We would all have something invested.
get the 3,000 votes, come back.
All right, put me on the agenda on 22nd, because I'll be back.
Said he would.
All right. It's a deal.
All right, thank you.
Stop pestering you guys.
You got anything else?
Where are we
Closed
at?
session.
I got my blue and silver off today, so we don't need to root for the Cowboys this weekend. Appreciate it.
Oh, I thought that was the new,
Where's your
new
star?
high school.
Where's your star?
It's on the truck.
The Cavaliers.
Cavaliers, yeah. Jeff City.
If I see more kicks hit the crossbar, if you took the bet on that, there was only going to be 15 kicks that hit the crossbar this past weekend.
Let you know, Colonel Echo is a big Bears fan, and he's okay. I called him to make sure he had not jumped off the ledge or anything.
And then I talked to Carlos today, up to Alabama.
Yes, I saw the Facebook post. He's doing okay too. But they may still get ranked number one because, you know, Alabama's got a 14-1 record with defeat by a number one team with and you know, a good quality team, so it's a quality loss, so they might still get to be number one because Clemson doesn't have a quality loss on their record.
Really?
Yeah. You gotta be creative in this stuff.
I guess.
Carlos will make it work.
Well, they took a butt whooping.
Yeah, well, at least Hale Hinch has had a catch in it. I
Yeah.
thought, well,
Yeah.
cool. The local boy got in it. Okay,
Anything else?
I'm probably out of time now.
We got closed session then?
Yes.
Maybe we go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri for personnel issues sub 13.
Second.
Roll call?
Sam?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Those appointment papers.